Hi everyone, welcome back. We decided today to do a follow-up on our under $30 bonsai because that turned out to be a very popular video, and we've had several requests for a follow-up because I guess everybody wants to know what's happened to it in the last couple of years. This is where it is as of right now. You can see at this point it's kind of outgrown the wiring a little bit, and it also, the soil's kind of packed up just a little bit, so it needs to be repotted. So we got to do some work here on it, so let's get started. Now first things first, we've got to take the wire off, and there's two ways you can do this. You can either cut it off, and you use a bonsai wire cutter for this, and you can see you basically just clip it off at every turn. But for those of you who decided to just have one bonsai and didn't want to spend the money on the tools, the other way to do it is to unwire it by carefully unwinding the wire from the branches. And when you do this, you want to take a good look and make sure you see exactly how you routed the wire when you put it on, because remember, it's been 2 years now, and you want to very carefully do this so as not to injure the tree. Now the added benefit of unwinding the wire is you may be able to straighten it out and reuse it on other projects. I wouldn't do this for a tree that's being put in a show, but for something that's growing on the back benches, it's perfectly acceptable. And Mother Earth will thank you for recycling your wire, because aluminum is made from a mineral called bauxite, which is mined in open pit mines. And it takes a pretty huge carbon footprint to smelt aluminum or even to recycle it. Now, for unwinding the wire, it may be helpful for you to take a small pliers and grip the end of the wire with it, and what you can do is carefully unwind the wire to the point where you can get some leverage on it with your fingers, and this will help you with the unwinding. You'll notice the tree leaned over a little bit from how it was originally positioned in the first video that we did, and when we repot it, we're going to correct that. It's pretty firm on its roots. It's not so much that it shifted in the pot as it put on a lot of foliage on this side. So when we repot, we're going to go up like this a little bit to try to restore visual equilibrium. And the other thing is, we want to take an opportunity here to do a little bit of pruning. We've got some dead foliage tips courtesy of the rather bitter winter that we're having here, combined with some very serious dry weather and droughts. And so we just need to take off these little brown tips. These junipers, especially in a small pot, tend to be very sensitive that way. And then other than that, we want to just clean it up a little bit. One thing is, it did get a good bit taller, and we're going to shorten it down just a little. And then we're going to try to take off any foliage that hangs down and just kind of bring it back a little bit to where it was. Okay, we've finished thinning out the foliage. We've shortened the tree a little bit. Now we're going to put a little bit of wire back on it. And you may notice what looks like wire scars here on the bark. And these aren't really. There's no actual indentation here. What's happened is the bark has faded in the sun, and the area under the wires stayed dark because the wires shaded it from the sun. That will resolve pretty quickly with time in the coming growing season, so that's really not an area of concern at this point. So we only need 1 or 2 wires back on the tree at this point. Other than that, it's held its shape very nicely, and we're going to go a little thicker on some of these than we did last time, and at the same time we're going to go just a little bit loose, because this thing grew pretty vigorously for such a small tree. So this branch needs to be propped up. It's drooping a little, and that will resolve as it gains strength and thickness. So we'll just bring the wire back like we did last time. Now, for those folks who are watching this video on the first viewing and haven't seen the other one yet, I want to remind folks of a few things. Item 1, this is not an indoor tree. This is a juniper. It's an outdoor tree. These guys like their winters pretty cold, and they do tolerate snow and ice pretty well. I think they're hardy down to about 10 degrees Fahrenheit or so. So you can keep them outdoors all the time unless you're getting the kind of blizzard conditions that we're having back east this winter. If that's the case, then I would definitely shelter one of these. But here in California, this one lives outdoors all the time. So this branch also got a little droopy and didn't quite set in the place that I wanted it to yet. And so we're good, but it did grow very nicely. I like the fact that it's nice and thick and elongated out here on the tip, and I'm expecting the tree to focus a good bit of growth on this one. And then this little fella here also isn't quite in the place where I was hoping it would end up. It drooped down a little bit after I took the wire off. So I'm going to go a little thick and a little loose this time, and I'm going to turn it around now, take a look here, see, okay, this branch needs to go towards the back of the tree. It's definitely a back branch, and then this little one here needs to thin out just a little. And then we'll cut the tips off the wires here. When we potted this on the first go-round, we wired it into the pot. You can see the anchor wire down here underneath. So we need to cut that sucker. And we didn't attach that to the wires on the drainage screens. So hopefully it should just pull right out now. And there it goes. And the good news is the roots are in remarkably good shape. We do have some weed roots here. That's these white things, because we got some wild onions growing in the roots here. And these guys gotta go because they'll take over if you let them. So we'll take these out. Okay, so we're going to tease out the roots a little bit here, and then going to cut these. Let's just get this done here. You know, we've had some encircling roots on this, so it's definitely high time for a repot. Now we can go right back into the same pot that we did before, but we got to get the root ball down to where the roots aren't bumping up against the sides of the pot. That's not good for the health of the tree. I think we'll go one more season in this pot, and depending on how it grows, maybe look at a slightly larger one, but this is pretty good right here. So next thing we need to do is get some thin wire, run a new anchor wire, and do some cleanup work on the pot. So we're going to leave the tree right here on the turntable while we do that. Okay, we have the pot washed and cleaned. Nice looking pot. Any stray particles that get on it now will hose off when we water the tree. And the tree looks good, and we've got the anchor wire in place. Now we just need to put some fresh soil in the pot, which I've got some mixed up here and ready to go. This is my usual soil mixture, and you can see it on the soil video if you like. So this is a pretty easy one since it's a shohin or small bonsai, less than a foot tall. And we just put some soil in the bottom of the pot, put the root ball in on top of it, and then we tie it down with our anchor wire. And hopefully this will hold this tree in place this time. We can adjust the tree a little bit by packing soil in around it once we get it anchored down here. So there's that. And we're going to trim the surface roots here just a little bit so that we get a nice, clean, tidy appearance when we put the soil in. So now we'll cut the anchor wire and move that out of the way. And then we'll pack a little more soil in here. This is a bit different from repotting on the big trees where you shovel it in. Oh, here we go. So that's what this little spade, one of the things that this is good for besides levering weeds out, is packing your soil in around the tree here. So now we'll take some more. This scoop is actually a bit too large and heavy-handed for this particular job. Alright, we have all the soil packed in, we have the tree repotted. The one other thing we need to do now is take it over to where the hose is and water it. So we're going to do that next. Okay, we have the hose nozzle set for shower, and we're just going to give the tree a nice gentle shower here. Get the soil to wash in nicely, see how it drains. The one thing you have to watch on these really small ones is drainage. We don't use a super fast draining mix on these because if they dry out too fast you get the brown tips like what you saw earlier. So we're using a soil that holds a little bit of water. And we'll just water this and wait for the water to go down. Add a little more. And there is our little tree 2 years later, repotted and looking fine and healthy. Thank you for watching, folks.